Hi there, and welcome to a short tutorial for step 4 of the quilt that you see here, 21. This is a current Prairie Quilt Militia project, and in just a moment I will show you how to get started if you'd like to participate and make this quilt along with us. Before we do that, just have a quick look at another colorway for the same quilt. This is using some brights, solids, or tone-on tones that are a little bit more fresh and modern feeling, as in comparison to the previous quilt you saw, which is more of a traditional style of a quilt. This is a peek at the website page where you can find the pattern for 21. You can see a photo of the quilt here, the fabric requirements here, and a video that you can watch all about the fabric selection for this quilt in helping you prepare. And step 1, 2, and 3, and step 4 will be posted later today. As you can see here, I am on the website loveshackquilts.ca, but you can also use .com. And if you're interested in signing up so you can take part in this project with us, all you need to do is click on Shop right here and find the Prairie Quilt Militia membership quilting community icon. Click on that, and then the page will open with some information for you, and then you can say Add to Cart. Along with this particular project, there are several other militia projects that you can see featured down here. And if you're interested in some testimonials or more information on the militia, you can click on one of those 2 links to get you going. Now let's get started with the tutorial for step 4. All right, here we go with step 4 for 21. I thought I would just start off by sharing my blocks with you. I've got them all done, and one thing you might notice as I show you the blocks is that my darks are kind of scrappy. Well, not kind of, they definitely are scrappy. I miscalculated the amount of black that I did have here, and I thought I could get away with skimping and using it, but I didn't have enough. So I am going with a scrappy number of fabrics for the darks for this step. However, my colors are the same and my light background is the same. So here's my first color. It's kind of like a nice milk chocolate brown. And my second color, there are 4 blocks for each colorway. So that's why you see several blocks here for each color, for each fabric. So I've got kind of a nice green with some gold flecks in it, and I just love how this background fabric made it really easy for me to choose my colors for this project. And I have to have some purple, even though there is no purple in the background fabric in here. I still love purple, and that was one of the colors I wanted to include after I had chosen all the colors that you could see in there. I still wanted to put a purple in there, but as you can see, I chose a purple with a bit of an orange fleck in it, so that picks up on the orange fleck that's in the background fabric. So I got away with using purple by choosing one that had a bit of an orange fleck in it. And a nice warm sunshiny buttery yellow. I love this fabric. It's not a reproduction fabric like the rest of them, but it just had the same elegant feel to it that the reproduction fabrics do, and that is my gold, that sun gold fabric right there. But I really love this print. Another green, because there is a couple of different shades of green in here. There's kind of a darker one and one that's a little bit more limey and light, and so I've got another green in here. This is the difference between the 2 greens that I have right there. So this one's kind of like a dark teal with a gold, and this one's kind of a medium green with a bit of a purple fleck in it. So anytime I can add any purple into my quilting, I love it. That's my favorite color. So the next color I have is a cheddar, and this was kind of a direct, well, not really a directional fabric, but a plaid print fabric with lines going both ways in it. And I really didn't want to be obsessive about the position of the lines, so I just cut the strips and let the lines fall where they may. This one you can see a little bit of that line going through this way, and then of course you can see all the vertical lines. You can see the vertical lines in all 4 sections, and a bit of a peak of that vertical, horizontal line kind of peeking out there and there, and this one has none of it. So I don't obsess over that kind of thing. I know there's some people who are really conscientious of where those lines get placed in a block, and if you're fussy like that, you can go ahead and place your fabrics like so. But if you're not, it really isn't that noticeable overall. So you can go ahead and use directional stuff and not worry about it so much. There is no pink in the fabrics or in the colors in my background fabric at all, but it's another color I wanted to kind of add. I had to choose 9 colors for this project, so I felt like a pink was a good one to add, and I had already chosen the rest of the colors from that are in here anyway, so I really am happy with the addition of the pink in there. And a blue. There is blue in this background fabric, although you can barely see it in this block. You can see a blue line here and here that leads to a flower, but maybe we can see some more blue in one of the different blocks that fabric is in. So this one shows it a little bit more. It's right there. So it's kind of like a Wedgwood blue, almost a gray blue, depending on the light that you look at it in, or maybe a baby blue. In right now with this light in this recording, it really looks kind of like a baby blue, but in real life it's a little bit softer. When I'm looking at it, it doesn't look as bright as it does on the screen. So I've added my blue in there to match, and then my last fabric is kind of, I'm not sure how I would describe this, maybe a brick red. I didn't really go with a real bright orange like this has in it. My oranges are a little bit more in the cheddar range, whereas you can see this darker orange. So instead of going with a bright orange like this or a deep orange, I decided to go with an orangey red that would still pick up on that kind of rustish tone, but not be a real bright orange color in there. So it still really suits the feel of my reproduction fabrics overall. So just a quick look at the foundation pattern that you're going to be using for this step. We provided instructions in step 3 on making sure that this block measures properly when you print it out before you start using it. So if you need to refer back to that video, you can go ahead and check it out. It's still in step 3. But just as a reminder, when you're printing out, if you don't want to refer back to that whole video, all you need to do is make sure that when you print it, you look in your options or advanced options for printing, or more settings. You're going to find something that says advanced or more, and make sure you print this pattern to 100% scale. That's going to make sure that this prints out at the correct 6.5. So 6.5 to the outside dotted line, that's our seam allowance, and 6 inches on the inside, the outside dotted line, and then 6 inches on the inside solid line. So as long as that measures out correctly, you're good to go. Now in this step, I do mention that my preference for building this block was to use foundation paper, not the freezer paper method, just because the amount of folds that you have to do the freezer paper method sometimes starts to make the fabric pull away from the adhesive on the freezer paper a little bit. So if you find that your block is falling off of the freezer paper as you're building it, you may want to switch back to using regular foundation paper for this step. That's what I did, but it's totally up to you. So I would suggest, before you print out 36 pages on your foundation paper, try making one with your freezer paper method first, just to see if it works for you. And if it does, go right ahead and use that method if you want to. But if you're having any struggles with the fabric falling away from the paper, then you'll want to just print out your foundation sheets and do it with your foundation paper from there. I have these numbered for you on here, but this is a really kind of a no-brainer block. It's a little bit more steps than the step 3 unit that we made, but it really is very, very simple. Your 4 3/4 inch square light fabric is going to be just perfect to be placed over top of this center square. to have a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance on all 4 sides. So you should not have to trim the center square once you have it in place. Just lift it up in front of a light source and make sure that you can see a 1/4 of an inch-ish each side of that, and you can use your glue stick to place it down and keep it stationary so it doesn't move, and then you'll go ahead and add the fabrics onto it. So this instructions tell you a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, so that you'll put the center square on first and then build out each corner. So you'll put the color here and the black here, color here, black here, color here, black here, color here, black here. But if you prefer to add all of these first and then add all your black triangles, the block is going to look exactly the same as if you build it out all in one direction as you go around. So that choice is completely yours. It's not going to make a difference in the finished look of the block whatsoever. It's just whatever groove you get in and get comfortable with, that's how you should do it. So these numberings are just a suggestion. Obviously you still have to put the first square on first and start with these, but it's up to you if you want to put all the colors on and then the black, or if you want to work color black, color black, color black, color black. Completely up to you. As well, you may want to trim this paper down, as I've shown in the previous foundation paper video, just to get rid of the excess paper, so that when you're feeding it through the machine, you don't have the rest of this bulk to deal with paper, and you're just feeding through what's necessary. So you could trim this down just slightly bigger than the dotted line that's there. Once you're finished with this step, you should have 4 of these for each color grouping, for a total of 36 blocks, and they should be trimmed and squared to the dotted line measurement, which should be 6.5 inches. And then once that's done, you can go ahead and remove the paper from the back. As you can see, in some of these spots I have a little bit more than a 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to just zoom in slightly so that you can see a bit better, and then refocus. There you go. So now you can see here this 4 3/4 inch square. I really didn't need to adjust it much to be able to get at least my 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. This one's a little bit wider and that one's a little bit more narrow, but as long as you have a good 1/4 of an inch, you don't have to worry about a little bit excess on one side. And you can see here will be the same situation with your colors when you put them on. You won't have to trim them down. So as long as you place them, even with the previous piece, with this piece here, then you won't have to trim these down at all. So this is going to be a very easy step to complete. You've got no trimming as you go. It's a bit wider here, and it's a little bit more narrow on this side, but it's not going to make a difference overall, because overall you're going to have at least a 1/4 of an inch on each side. Got a little piece of paper there in the corner. Looks like I missed a couple of papers in the corners there. I'll just take those off because now they're bugging me. But this is going to be nice because you have no trimming as you go. Just press back, lay the next piece down and go. The only trimming you need to do is at the very end on the outside. So there you go. There is your instructions for step 4. You can go ahead and get started, and please make sure you post pictures of all your beautiful blocks so we can all see and appreciate them when you're done.